Hey folks, what's going on? Welcome to the next episode of the Coach Gav podcast. So just more so, obviously prefer filming at the desk or at the table at home. It's a bit easier to film it, and also not gonna have the bouncing around camera effect here of it. But I wanted to film today because um, just something that I want to broach, and while it's fresh on my mind, and that in itself is something that we could probably all implement a bit more in life, is when something is fresh on our mind, that we discuss it or we address it. Now, I don't mean like in the heat of the moment when kind of our back is up and everything like that, but more so in terms of right, I've been thinking about it and I'd like to tackle it now rather than letting it run on and run over and become a bigger issue, or let the situation kind of die down and get buried and then it boils back up in a bad way as it is. So today is, main reason I wanted to film today was it's November 1st and it is the start of Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and it started with like the Movember campaign and then has kind of spread on and kind of evolved and graduated from there with it. And mental health and men's mental health and dad's mental health is a topic close to my heart and to my mind, in terms of having gone through, like I'm 38 now in 2025, 39 next month, and in my early 20s and mid 20s to early 30s, I really struggled a lot with my mindset and my mental health. And this was kind of, as that was happening, it was the same time as there was a greater light being shone on the topic of it. It's like, well, actually, hold on here. It's not just being snappy, being down, being sad. It's actually more than that. And as time has gone on, it stays, and even up until quite recently, just not like we've a lot going on at home, and a lot going on in like our family life. Nothing more than like the average person would, or not. It's more so kind of for me, it's a case of kind of how we're coping with it. So it's kind of mental health is quite a wide ranging and kind of wide um, and quite a wide scope of topic or area or thing to discuss. And yeah, it ranges from frustration and losing your temper, losing your cool, all the way up to kind of being in a situation where taking your own life is the choice you have left. And I can, and this is, look, it's going to be a sensitive subject, and it's, recently I heard, just a week just gone by, of an acquaintance of mine in the UK who, unfortunately and tragically took his own life. Early 40s, married man, a couple of kids, 3 kids I think, and I had a handful of dealings with him over the years, but always positive, always welcoming, always challenging, in terms of challenging to be better and to do more. And he was a big advocate for, mental health and growth and making progress in life. And it was shocking. It was shocking to hear. And my heart goes out to his closer friends and everything else. And it's you kind of go like, Jesus, it's a case of, like, they got to whatever scenario was where they thought this action, this very permanent, definite long-term choice and action is the solution to whatever problems are going on at the moment. And I've been there. I've been there over the years where, because I didn't create the structure in my life, or because I didn't build the support systems around me, and because I didn't take advantage of those close enough to me to lean on, I have felt where, for me, it was a case of I felt like I was drowning. I felt like I just couldn't catch my breath. And I've always been a big believer that when I can catch my breath, I'm able to calm my mind, and with a calmer mind, I'm able to figure out the solution. And it's for me, it was kind of really when, like, it was early on in my mid-20s. My eldest daughter was quite young at the time. I had opened and was running the gym, and it was like a recipe for a cake. It's not just one ingredient by itself is the cause of the problem or the cause of the success. It's the combination of things. So it was all those factors, but it was all those factors and all, I suppose, no, it was all those events, all the events I had going on in life at that time, and even currently, where it's when they all mix together and stack up on top of the foundation, of our mindset. So how I know it's nonsense now, but I used to look back and I remember I used to think I was like the black sheep of my family, or like an outcast, or I was on the outside, and all this utter crap. And I realized it was crap because when I looked around it and I looked at the examples, all I saw was people who loved and supported me. And it was just that little story, the little narrative, the little voice in my head that was just chipping away. And the voice in my head, the story I was telling myself, there was no proof to it. There was no concrete, real world evidence of, oh yeah, you are the black sheep, you are a failure, you are an outcast, and everything else. And because I didn't have that perspective to be like, and it was just every day I was living the same sequences. Every letter that came through the front door was a bill or a debt or an outstanding thing. It was money problem after money problem. Every phone call felt like it was an issue or an argument or a fight. And it was like that. I felt like I was drowning. I felt like I couldn't catch my breath. I couldn't calm my mind to settle myself to figure it out. I went to bed and I was exhausted. I ended my day and I was exhausted. And I woke up exhausted. And then I went through the rest of my new day either rehashing or re-dealing with the same issues, or then ending up having to take on new issues and new challenges. And I had issues, kind of as a son, as a brother, as a business owner, as a father, issues with myself, issues in my relationship. And these are all things we all have. This is, I am not some kind of like trailblazer here. This is not like, oh my God, first person ever to have it happen to. But more so, I want to talk about it because I want to try and shine a light and shed a light out there. And women that go through this as well, and a whole lot more. And when I'm talking to kind of clients, and when I'm talking, or just talking to colleagues and friends, and we take that, like, in business years ago, there was like, oh yeah, what's your 10,000 foot point of view? So when you're 10,000 feet in the air and you're looking down the situation, what are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you dealing with? You're getting like the big picture. But before we can get to that 10,000 foot point of view, maybe we just need to get that like 1,000 feet point of view where we can just get a little bit away from like being in the thick of it, and you take a little bit of a step back and you get a look at right what's actually going on. Because if you imagine a painting and you put your nose right up to it, like let's say my headphones here, if I put them right up to my eye, I can only see, it's overwhelming. I can only see very small detail. It's very, whoa, Jesus. As opposed to if I look at them from a distance, I can see more of it. I can get a better idea of what's going on. And when we do that with our life, in every aspect, in any aspect, it allows us to. Recently, I've been a little overwhelmed at work, and the overwhelm comes from my expectations of myself, the thoughts I have of other people's expectations of me, my expectations of other people, and all this kind of stuff. And it's been overwhelming. And when I get overwhelmed, I'm like off balance, I'm off kilter, and I'm not able to actually try and move on and turn things around with it. And then the same thing with being a father lately, just a bit of a struggle kind of going on. And it's just when all those things combine, I'm like, Jesus, it's just exhausting, and I'm snappy, and I'm short, and I'm all these things. But when I go from being this close to the situation to being this close to the situation, and this close to the situation, and this close, as I remove myself from it, I can see what's going on. And sometimes by removing ourselves, it's as simple as having a conversation. And I'm quite fortunate where I've got really good friends at work. They've gone well beyond colleagues. And then also at home, I have a fantastic wife. And when I proposed to Yolanda, what I had said in it was, I wanted someone that I could get through the hard times of life with, that we could support and push and challenge one another. And even my daughters, we won't always see eye to eye, but we'll get through it. And then, like, my original support network of my family, my brothers and sisters and my mother and my granddad, you're kind of going like, right, there's people there, you're not on your own, you're not alone. No one's alone. Oh yeah, but I've no family, Gav, I've no brothers and sisters, I've no kids, I've no wife, I've no husband, I've no this. Okay, you might not have that. Your support network might look a bit different, and that's fine. But what you can do then is have Jesus, 1st of November, traffic to Kildare Village is bonkers already. But staying on topic here, it's a case of, it could be like the coffee shop you go to, you get on pretty well with someone there. One of your neighbours, you interact with well. Colleagues in work, you're able to socialise with, or you're able to have a coffee and have a chat. Old friends from school, people from your five-a-side team, people from a club or a hobby that you're into. All these things can make up your support network, and it's like that. Those times where I have felt alone, or I felt like I got to do this myself. I got a superhero the situation, and I'm like, okay, that'll work for a little bit. It won't work for all the time. And I don't think we as humans are designed to get by that way. I think it's like the song, I get by with a little help from my friends. And we all do. We all get by with a little bit of help from our friends. And sometimes it's as simple as being able to sit and talk. And as we talk, just this lightness comes around us. And this growth we feel, our character, our personality shines through. And as we talk about things, we clear through the debris, we clear through the dirt, clear through the confusion of any situation. And then you start to realise, okay, well, here's the next steps forward. Here's here's the structure we kind of need to build into it. Because while talking and thinking and being open to change is the first couple of steps, it's kind of the foundation of it. It's doing the work, having the system, knowing that, seeing the signs. Okay, well, I got to go and talk now because I just, talking is great, action is greater, and deliberate action or focused action, pointed is probably the better way of saying it, is better again. So I spoke of an acquaintance of mine who passed during the week, and my first dealing with suicide was back in fourth year in secondary school. So I would have been 15, 16 at the time, and one of the guys in school took his life, and it rocked the school. It did, and it came out of nowhere, and we went, and again, like that, I would have been classmates with Paddy. I wouldn't have been friends. We would have got on. We weren't like arguing or anything like that. But it was a case of, so went to the funeral and everything to kind of pay our respects. I had friends. I had friends who was close to Paddy. Paddy was he was on all the sports teams. He was one of the first people to be driving a car, the Volkswagen Golf, I think. Like, popular with everyone. Had the girlfriend. Had all the traditional indicators of what's cool or what's successful at a teenager. And as human nature is, as society is, there was rumblings and rumors of this is what was going on and this is what was happening, and here's why he did it, and no one knows. Anyone who goes, they're the only one who know what it is. But I look around. I looked around at the time at Paddy's funeral, and I look at Ben, who passed during the week there, and you're like there was hundreds at Paddy's funeral. Like, I mean, hundreds. And this was at a time way back before social media, so it wasn't just like he had loads of followers online or any of this kind of bullshit. These were actual people who either lived near him physically or knew him in some capacity, knew him to the extent that they wanted to go and pay their respects. And the one thought that hit me then, and it still hits me now, is what did he have going on in his life that was so bad in reality or in perception that he wasn't able to talk to any one of these people here? Now, I understand you're not going to be close with everyone. I'm not close with everyone. Again, even in work, I would know a lot of people in work. I am polite to a lot of people. I would be friendly to others, and I would be outright friends with them. Sometimes we would share personal stuff, and again, like that, I look at Paddy, and I was going, geez, and then I look at Ben, and I was going, geez, well, Ben is very well known, very well liked, and all these different things, and it's like, Jesus, same again. What did he have going on that he felt wasn't enough to, what did he have that was going on that was too much to go and share with others? And as any Irish person growing up, they probably would have heard, a problem shared is a problem halved. And like that, if you imagine it, when you have a problem, it's easier to look at, it's easier to deal with. You take that 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 foot view perspective on a situation. And one of my kind of go-to lines when I'm in the heat of an argument or that is that one of the lines is, no matter what I do, it's never enough. It's never, it's not good enough. And myself and Mila lately were clashing, and again, I hear myself, and it's like, and one thing was, you come to me with problems, and I keep coming to you with solutions, and you keep finding problems with my solutions. Now, let's just keep in mind here, I'm 38, she's nearly 6, okay? So, I should know better. But then, I take that concept or that point in that argument, and I can draw a line to it to work, where my issues in work are, again, I'm coming across problems which are fine, and then I come with what I believe to be a solution or the best solution, and either it isn't or it causes more problems. And sometimes you kind of go, what else is there for me to do? If I'm coming at something with the best I can, if I'm turning up as the best husband I can be, the best wife I can be, the best son or daughter I can be, the best colleague I can be, the best version of me, mindset, skill set, as it is, as good as we can be right here, right now, and it still isn't enough, it is a bit deflating. It is a bit of a setback where you're like, fuck. Well, what do I do? How do I go about, like, if this is as good as I can be, and if this is as good as I can be, and if this is as good as it gets, like, fuck, what do we do? And then that's where kind of like growth and evolution and change occurs, because it's not necessarily about me doing more things isn't necessarily me being able to do things better. There's a really good argument to be made that doing less things allows us to do things better. There's an argument to be made that doing different things allow us to do things better. And it's I know what I want to achieve raising Freya, Mila, Rachel and Shan. And it differs from daughter to daughter. And it differs from scenario to scenario. And, I know what I want to try and achieve as a husband. I know what I want to try and kind of get out of these situations. I just need to maybe change how it goes, because in some scenarios it's causing a frustration. And what I hope for people to get out of the video and the podcast is to swap out me and put themselves in a scenario. Put yourselves in my seat, in my shoes. And maybe you might be like, oh my God, we have so much in common, fantastic. And you might be like, well, we have similarities. And that's kind of what it is, because, it's, Paul, my old coach, I started working with him because, again, I saw similarities. I was like, I get this guy. I like his message. That's what I get. That's why I went to him and why I go to him rather than other coaches and things like that as well with it. It's, and you can kind of pick and choose and learn as you go with it. So mental health isn't just about, 1 month a year, and it's certainly about 1 day a year. It is a 24/7, 365 thing. And it is as applicable and as true for men and women, young and old. And, like, it's awful. I remember when I got to the stage of where I had the thought of, would it be better if I wasn't here? And you're kind of going, as I mentioned earlier, by answering yes to that question, by choosing to quit on life, by saying yes, things would be better if I wasn't here. That is the most permanent it's not even a solution. That is the most permanent action to a temporary situation. Because once you're gone, you can't undo that. You can't come back and be like, okay, now I can change it. When we're here, when we're alive, when we're present, we can change all these things. And I've hesitated about talking about that because sometimes you'd worry, you'd be like, oh, Jesus, my friends and family will watch this. And they'd be like, oh, geez, you never told me you were this and never told me that and, all that kind of stuff. So it is kind of one of those, like, where you're like, oh, do I say it, do I not say it? And you do say it because you're kind of like, it's quite it's probably more common than we all realize, where I think everyone has work struggles, like, I mean, I'm quite ambitious, and I want to do well, and I want to represent myself well. I want to represent kind of, all the work my mom and granddad and my brothers and sisters put into raising us. I want to kind of pay them off. And there's yeah, look, I'm going for it. And we can put, again, we spoke about expectations earlier. We can put that extra pressure on us. My dad left when I was 10, and I don't want to be like him. I want to be, and he had his reasons, for whatever reason. I want to be different. I want to be a good dad. I want to be a great dad. And then I get annoyed when I argue with the kids, when I shout at the kids, and these kind of stuff as well with it. Because again, there's just and arguing and fighting. It's all off the back of, expectation. I expect you to listen when I tell you. I expect you to be good. I expect you to this and that. And you're kind of going like, holy shit. But how much easier, how much smoother can our day go if we just remove those expectations and you just take things as they go, and you approach each or as many scenarios as you can. It's kind of going, right, there's no malice here. There's no real. They're not deliberately like. Mila's not deliberately trying to like sound like she's giving me lip when she's pushing back. And this isn't about kind of going into like super duper like really deep level psychology and kind of thinking about that. But you can do. Like, I know some of my kind of like, I suppose it was pointing at me, kind of, I don't know what a good dad is because I haven't had a good dad to show me. Even though I have brothers who are fantastic dads, and I have a mom who was a fantastic dad. As my mom was a fantastic dad to us. She did both roles. And I have other friends of mine. I have male peers who I would like, oh, I really like that about that person. That person is very caring. That person is very considerate. I like that. I should be like him in that way. So again, it comes back to like the expectation and all these different things. And then the business side of me is, because my gym failed in terms of like the traditional sense of, oh, it's not open. It made no money. It made constant debts. I had this chip on my shoulder of being a failure career-wise, even though you're like, well, you're not, because when you look at the facts, I'm 18 years in an industry where the average turnover is between 3 to 5. I had my own facility for just shy of 6 years. Kind of kept it going, kept it alive for 6 years. Kind of, I lived out a dream. So rather than being one of these people in my 30s and 40s and 50s, like, oh, I should have done this, I would have done that, I wish I could have done this. I did it, I tried it, I knew it. And, I now have the benefit of learning from it. I also have a wife and a daughter and stepdaughters from having had that gym. So, and then it's like, it's just kind of, life in itself can be so overwhelming. I worry the whole time about, like, with Freya and Mila. Will they have a good connection? Will they have a good bond? I have a great bond with my family. We still argue and fight, but I have a great bond with my family, and I want that for my girls, because at least then, when I'm gone, please God, many years from now, they will have each other and they'll have this support network with each other. So I worry, is the age gap going to be an issue? I worried, how would the oldest two girls take Freya under their wing, and do they see each other as equals, as siblings? And they do, and it's fantastic. And even you'll notice throughout this episode, if you're still, please God, tuned in, where like, again, deal in fact, deal in reality. And it's because we spoke about like mirrors and windows before. So if I'm looking out the window here, all I can see is what's going on out there, outside of me, outside of my control, outside of my scenario. But yet if I look in the mirror here, my focus is on me, my focus is on what I have. Or if I look in the reflection of the camera here, my phone will act as a mirror. I can see me, I can see the mic, I can see how I look, my gammy eye, all these different things. So my focus is on me and on what I have, not what I could have had or what I don't have or any of those other things that are totally outside of our control. So it's to try and wrap it up. No one knows what's going on. Please try and not make long-lasting or permanent decisions based on short-term overwhelm, short-term frustration, short-term anguish, depression, any of those things. Seek help, because help is always there to be sought. Always. And you might find it in the strangest of places. Some of my closest friends right now are people I've known less than 3 years, less than 5 years, less than 10 years. Very few of the people I grew up with are still in my life. That's the same for all. We all grow and move on to everything as well. Communicate. Because when you talk it out, you might start a conversation and not really have much clarity. It might not make much sense, like how most of these episodes go. But you're able to, as you talk, it's like on a pair of shoelaces when they're all knotted up, and you can't just pull the string and it's fine. It's a case of slowly having to work and tweak and manipulate, and then it all becomes freer. Yeah. So look after yourselves, and like that, and we'll finish on this, and this won't be the last time we discuss it. For me to turn up as best I can as Gavin the K-Leisure manager, Gavin the coach, Gavin the husband, Gavin the dad to a 6-year-old, Gavin the dad to a 14-year-old, Gavin the dad to a 20-year-old, Gavin the dad to this, soon to be Gavin to the granddad. How do I turn up there? Gavin the son, Gavin the brother. I need to turn up. How can I best turn up as Gavin? Full stop. How can you best turn up as you? Before all those other things, like a tree, before it kind of branches off it, if we try and angle. There we go. So the trunk of that tree is us. And all those branches are the various versions of us we need to be every day in our lives or every week in our lives. And for those branches to live and grow off of us, we need to be big and strong and healthy in all aspects. Folks, if you've stayed this long, thank you so much. I hope you found it beneficial. And just everyone keep looking after themselves, and everything will be fine. And no matter what you're going through, just trust that this too shall pass. Be it a very low moment, you can take action and steer it back, or if it's very high, keep in mind you're going to kind of even back out in as well with it. Take care, look after yourselves, talk soon.